This is Pink After Dark FM, transmitting on a closed frequency. Before we continue, a reminder. The stories you hear on this station are not official reports, and they are not verified accounts of real events. Some details may feel familiar. Some places may sound like streets you know. That is intentional. But these are reconstructed narratives, urban folklore, and dramatized accounts shaped for late-night broadcast storytelling. Nothing you are about to hear should be taken as factual documentation. If you are listening alone tonight, keep in mind, these are just stories. Still, some stories sound real for a reason. You're listening to Pink After Dark FM. Stay tuned. The knock at 2:13. If you are still awake right now, you already know something is wrong with the hour. Tonight's story comes from Delaware Street, a residential road in a quiet part of Ohio. 3 women disappeared in 6 weeks. Same street, same time of night. 3 soft knocks. Nobody saw a thing. Nobody saw a thing because the darkness had been arranged. Carol Marsh was the kind of woman who locked her front door twice. She had lived on Delaware Street for 11 years. She knew every neighbor by first name, knew which houses had dogs, knew which porch light stayed on all night, and which one ran on a timer. She worked an early shift at a distribution center, in by 6, home by 3, grocery run on Tuesdays. She had a routine. Most people on Delaware Street had routines. That was the problem. The street itself was the kind of American road that looks fine in daylight. Ranch houses set back from the curb, 2-car driveways, Halloween decorations that stayed up a week too long, a neighborhood Facebook group with 340 members where people posted about lost cats and packages stolen from porches. The streetlights on Delaware Street were the older sodium kind, amber, not white. 4 of the 9 on the block had been dark for most of that year. The city had logged the maintenance requests. Nobody came. The first report came from a woman named Linda Foss. She mentioned it to her sister, almost as a footnote. A knock at the front door. Late. 3 taps, soft and spaced. She had gone downstairs, looked through the peephole, seen nothing. Figured it was kids. Went back to bed. Her sister asked what time. Linda checked her phone. She had looked at it when she went downstairs. 2:13 in the morning. Her sister did not think much of it. The second incident was Carol Marsh herself. She was awake. She often woke early and could not get back to sleep. She heard 3 knocks at the front door, soft. She described them to her neighbor the next day as patient. She opened the door. She saw nothing. She went back inside. She mentioned it to her neighbor over the fence that afternoon. Her neighbor told her she had heard something similar a week earlier. They both laughed about it. Kids, they agreed. Probably kids. Carol was reported missing 4 days later. Her car was in the driveway. Her phone was on the kitchen counter. The television was on, volume low. A mug of tea had been poured and barely touched. She had simply gone. No signs of a break-in, no blood, no marks on the door or frame. The front door had been unlocked from the inside. 2 weeks after Carol, a woman named Ruth Albright disappeared from number 34. Same circumstances. Door unlocked. No signs of struggle. Phone left behind. The Delaware Street Facebook group went into a kind of sustained panic. Every post for 3 weeks was about the disappearances. Speculation was total. A man targeting women who lived alone. A gang moving through the area. A serial predator from out of state. Someone with a grudge against the street specifically. The police were present. They were interviewing. They had no leads they were sharing publicly. A man named Dennis Cole lived at number 19. He was retired from the phone company and had too much time and a habit of watching things. He had installed 4 cameras on his property. Front door, back door, driveway, and one pointed obliquely down the street. Not because he was afraid, because he liked to know things. After Ruth Albright disappeared, he went back through his footage. He found nothing on the nights of the disappearances. Nothing visible. Empty street, amber light, parked cars. That was when Dennis noticed something that took him 2 days to articulate clearly enough to say out loud. His cameras went dark at 2:13 every morning. Not for long, 90 seconds, maybe 2 minutes. He had never noticed it before because he had never looked at footage from that time of night. He called his son-in-law, who worked in IT. His son-in-law explained it the same afternoon. The fiber router that powered the camera system rebooted on an automatic maintenance cycle. Every night, scheduled by the ISP, at 2:13 a.m., 90 seconds of no recording. Dennis sat with that information for a long time. Then he called the non-emergency police line and asked them a question they had not thought to ask themselves. He asked whether Carol Marsh and Ruth Albright used the same internet provider. They did. Same ISP, same router model, same automatic maintenance reboot, same 90-second window, every night, at 2:13. The detective assigned to the case, a woman named Sergeant Karen Yates, pulled the ISP records for every house on Deller Street within 48 hours of Dennis Cole's call. 11 of the 14 residential addresses ran the same router model. She cross-referenced them against the disappearances. Carol Marsh, number 22, same router. Ruth Albright, number 34, same router. Linda Foss, who had heard the first knock but not opened her door, same router. The 3 properties where no knocking had been reported ran different equipment. Yates described the realization in her case notes as follows. He knew the reboot schedule. He tested the doors and the windows. The ones that opened, he marked. The ones that did not, he moved on from. He was not guessing. He was working from a list. The question was how he had the list. The ISP maintenance schedule was not public information, but it had been sent to every customer by email when the automatic reboot feature was introduced 18 months earlier. A routine service notification. The kind of email most people delete without reading. The kind of email someone with access to ISP customer service records could retrieve. A former employee of the internet service provider was identified within the week. His name was Ray Cutler. He had been terminated 8 months prior for accessing customer accounts without authorization. His dismissal had been handled internally. No criminal charges had been filed at the time. He had moved out of his apartment the month after his termination. His forwarding address was a storage unit. When investigators tracked Ray Cutler to the Deller Street area, they began searching properties closest to the disappearances. There was a vacant house at the end of the block, number 41, in foreclosure for 14 months. The property management company confirmed it had not been entered or maintained. The front door showed no signs of tampering. The ceiling hatch in the master bedroom closet showed fresh marks on the frame. The attic above number 41 connected, through an uninsulated gap in the shared firewall, to the attic of number 39, and from number 39 through a similar gap to number 37. The row of houses on the eastern side of Deller Street had been built in 1987 by the same contractor. The fire separation between attic spaces had been installed incompletely. It had never been inspected. Ray Cutler had been living in those connected attic spaces, moving between them, watching. In the attic of number 41, investigators found a sleeping bag, food containers, and a notebook. The notebook contained the names of every woman on Deller Street who lived alone. Beside each name, her router model, her reboot time, and a column marked with a single word, checked. Some entries had a second word beneath it. Opened. Ray Cutler was arrested 4 days later, 2 counties over, at a motel. He has not been tried yet. The search for the missing women is still ongoing. They have not yet been found, and Ray Cutler has not spoken a word to authorities. He just smiles when interrogated. The attic gaps on the eastern side of Deller Street have been sealed. Dennis Cole still has his cameras. He upgraded the router to a model with a manual reboot setting. He sets it himself now, at a different time every night. He told his son-in-law he never uses the same time twice. His son-in-law said that was probably overkill. Dennis Cole said nothing to that. He just looked out of the window at the dark end of Deller Street, where the sodium lamps have still not been repaired. And he checked the lock on the front door twice. You are listening to Pink After Dark FM. Stay inside. We will be right back.
Life is full of beautiful moments. Sunsets, coffee in the morning, and long walks alone at night. And then there are others. ENBH pepper spray. Compact enough to fit in your pocket. Powerful enough to ruin someone's entire evening. It won't solve all of your problems, but it'll definitely become his biggest one.
ENBH pepper spray. Available at leading retailers nationwide.
He'll be fine, we think.
ENBH pepper spray for legal self-defense use only. Results may vary. Side effects include temporary blindness, excessive crying, and a strong desire to reconsider life choices.
Welcome back to Pink After Dark FM. Let's continue the evening with our next case. Laundry line bodies. There is an old piece of advice that most people in this country no longer follow. Do not leave washing on the line overnight. It is the kind of thing grandmothers say. People stopped listening to grandmothers. They should not have stopped. The back gardens of Rectory Close ran along a shared alley. This was a UK estate. Not rough, not exactly comfortable either. Semi-detached houses built in the late 60s. Back gardens barely large enough for a table and 4 chairs, a strip of grass, and a washing line. The kind of place where you knew your neighbors by the sound of their routines. You knew who hung washing out early and who left it until afternoon. You knew which garden had the dog and which one had the trampoline. It was a community in the original meaning of the word. Close together, whether or not they wanted to be. In September of last year, residents of Rectory Close began noticing items on the shared line at the end of the alley. The shared line had been there for 30 years. Originally, it had been used by the houses on either end. By the time of these events, most people had their own lines and their own gardens. The shared one was rarely used, which was why the items were noticed. A man's work jacket, dark navy, size large. A child's red jumper. A woman's housecoat, pale green, clean. Nobody claimed them. They hung there for 3 days. Then they were gone. Then they were back. Different items this time. A retired teacher named Arthur Briggs was the one who made the connection. He was the type of man who read the local paper end to end, who attended council meetings, who filed complaints about the state of the pavements. He kept a file, actual paper, in a binder of local news items going back 4 years. When he saw the red jumper on the line, something moved in his memory. He went through his binder. He found a short article from 7 months prior, a missing persons appeal for a boy of 8, last seen walking home from school. The appeal mentioned he had been wearing a red school jumper. Arthur photographed the jumper on the line before touching it. Then he called the police. He was not particularly believed. But a constable came out, took the jumper, and said they would look into it. Within a week, the jumper was confirmed as belonging to the missing boy. It had been laundered, not just washed, properly laundered, the kind of clean that requires time and attention. The constable was no longer skeptical. 3 more items were identified over the following month. Each one had been cleaned thoroughly. Each one belonged to someone who had been reported missing within the prior 2 years. None of those missing persons had been found. The alley behind Rectory Close was now a crime scene, but a quiet one. The kind that does not look like anything from the outside. People in the close began watching the alley, not officially, not with cameras, just the way people watch things when they are frightened and the police are not moving fast enough. It was a woman named Sandra Webb who saw it first. She had a bedroom window that faced the alley. She had been waking early for months, bad sleep, no real reason. She lay in bed one morning at 5 a.m. and looked at the alley from habit. A figure was there. Old, moving slowly. A woman. She was hanging something on the line, carefully, taking her time. Sandra described it later. The woman smoothed the item flat before hanging it, as if she were dressing a window display, as if it mattered. When Sandra looked more closely, she realized the item was a man's shirt. The woman finished. She folded the empty laundry bag. She walked back toward the house at the far end of the alley. Number 4, Rectory Close. The house belonging to a woman named Edith Cray. 81 years old, widowed, known to neighbors as quiet and unremarkable. The investigating officer who spoke to Edith Cray described the conversation as one of the most difficult of her career. Not because Edith was hostile, because Edith was cooperative. She sat them down at her kitchen table. She offered tea. She answered every question directly, without hesitation, without apparent distress. She told them she washed the clothing because it brought the people peace. She told them she believed that wherever they had gone, they would go more easily if their things were clean. She was not confused. She was not senile. She knew what they were asking. She answered the question beneath the question without being asked it. My son brings them to me. I do not know exactly where he finds them. I know what he does. I have known for some time. I cannot stop him. He is stronger than I am now. The officer asked where her son was. Edith looked at the kitchen floor. The floor was original to the house. Thick quarry tiles. One section, beneath the wooden storage unit along the wall, had been regrouted at some point. The grout was newer than the rest, a different shade. Her son's name was Martin. He was 54 years old. He had not left the property in 9 years. Beneath the floor of the kitchen, dug out over what investigators estimated to be several years, shored up with reclaimed timber, was a space, low and long, running under the back half of the house, accessible through the floor via a hatch that the storage unit had concealed. It was where Martin lived. The clothing he brought to his mother came from people who had passed through that space. They did not pass through it willingly. They did not come out the same way they went in. The storage unit had to be moved by 2 officers to access the hatch. Edith sat at the kitchen table while this happened. She did not look at them. She looked at her hands. She said quietly, to no one in particular, I always made sure they were clean. Martin Cray was found inside the space. He did not resist. He sat in the dark and waited for them the way a man waits who has always known the moment would come. He said nothing to investigators. He has said nothing since. Edith Cray was charged as an accessory. Her barrister is arguing diminished responsibility. That case is ongoing. The space beneath the house has been sealed. The shared line at the end of the alley has been taken down. The pole is still there. Concrete post, slightly rusted. Someone has tied a small bunch of plastic flowers to it. Nobody put them there officially. Nobody knows who did. They are replaced whenever they fade. Somebody keeps replacing them. Somebody who has not said why. Pink After Dark FM. The signal is still running. Stay with us.
Good evening, Blackwood Insomniacs. It's your local ghost storyteller here, Alex Clifford. If you're still awake, you're in the right place, and honestly, after tonight's story, I'm not sure sleep is even an option.
What Alex did do, however, was go into the main building. In that same episode, he told you he was going to check it out, from the outside only, he said. He was very clear about that. He promised he wasn't going in. He went in. Campus security found him. Good evening, Blackwood Insomniacs. It's your local ghost storyteller, Allie Clifford. If you're still awake, you've come to the right place.
That was a snippet from the story Good Night, Alex. You can catch weekly episodes on this channel, Pink After Dark. If you like the content we are producing, please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Welcome back. You're listening to Pink After Dark FM. The Streetlight Man. Children are not afraid of the right things. They are afraid of the dark under the bed. They are afraid of shapes in curtains. They are afraid of sounds the house makes at night. Adults spend years teaching children not to be afraid of those things. The children of Haller Road were afraid of a man who stood under the broken lights. The adults told them it was imagination. The adults were wrong. Haller Road was a residential street in a mid-sized town in Pennsylvania. Not a bad street, not a good one. The kind that local realtors describe as up-and-coming without specifying from where. Single-family homes, some well-kept, some not. A church on one end, a gas station on the other. The streetlights on Haller Road were municipal, installed during a council energy initiative 5 years prior. The bulbs were a specific make, not quite white, not quite orange. A flat, muted pink amber that the council had described as warm spectrum in the press release, and that residents had complained about from day one. By the year of these events, 5 of the 11 streetlights on Haller Road were dark. Maintenance had been requested. Repeatedly, the requests sat in a queue. Children in the neighborhood had their own geography of the street. They knew which patches of the pavement were bright and which ones were dark. They called the dark patches the dead zones. They ran through the dead zones. They did not stop in them. A 9-year-old girl named Amy first described the man. She told her mother. Her mother told her to stop walking home alone after dark. Amy described him consistently over several weeks. He stands by the light that flickers, the one outside the Harper's house. He just stands there. He does not walk around. He just stands and looks at the house. What does he look like? Like a man. Does he look at you? He does not look at anything. He just stands. 2 other children gave similar accounts without being prompted. The adults concluded it was a shared story, the kind that spreads through a group of kids the way stories do. They were not alarmed. They should have been. A woman named Teresa Harper disappeared in March. She lived at number 27, Haller Road, the house outside which Amy said the man stood. Teresa was single, worked as a radiographer at the county hospital, and was known on the street as friendly and reliable. She had not missed a shift in 4 years. She missed one in March and did not answer her phone. A welfare check found her house secure from the outside. Inside, lights on, coffee maker still warm, keys on the hook by the door. No sign of a struggle, no sign of a break-in. The back door was unlocked. 2 months later, a man named Dale Weston disappeared from number 14. He lived alone. He worked nights at a logistics depot. He had come home from a shift, spoken to a colleague by text at 6:15 in the morning, and was not heard from again. He lived outside the second broken light on Haller Road, the one Amy had also mentioned. After Dale Weston, people remembered what Amy had said. A neighbor installed a security camera, wide-angle model, pointed toward the street. He reviewed 11 days of footage before he found it. A figure, stationary, outside the Harper's house, beneath the broken light. He was there for 4 hours and 20 minutes. He did not move. He did not appear to look in any direction. He simply stood. At the 4-hour mark, he crouched at the base of the lamppost. He did something at ground level. The camera angle did not resolve what. He was not there the following frame. He did not walk away. He was simply not there. The neighbor went to the lamppost the next morning. At the base, where the post met the pavement, a section of the concrete surround had been disturbed and reset, roughly, the way concrete looks when it has been lifted and replaced by hand. Below the lamppost, running parallel to the road, were the municipal storm drains. The town's storm drain maps were filed with the engineering department. They were not difficult to obtain, but nobody had thought to look at them in relation to the disappearances. A reporter named Chris Boyle, covering the missing persons cases for the local paper, obtained the maps as part of a broader records request. He laid them over a map of Haller Road. The storm drain network ran beneath the road's entire length. Access points were situated at the base of each lamppost. The drain diameter was 24 inches, wide enough for a person. Investigators pulled the municipal employment records. A technician named Gary Morse had worked for the town's utilities department for 9 years. He had been assigned to the Haller Road streetlight installation project 5 years prior. He had also filed the maintenance reports on the failed bulbs. He had been the one to request the replacements. The replacements had never been sent. The requests sat in the queue. What nobody had checked was whether Morse had filed those requests to actually fix the lights or to document that they were broken and have an official reason to keep returning to them. He had made 11 return visits to Haller Road after the initial installation, logged as maintenance checks. Each visit lasted between 30 and 90 minutes. Each visit corresponded to one of the access points at the base of the failed bulbs. Gary Morse had been dismissed from the utilities department 14 months prior. The reason listed in his file, failure to follow safety protocols. The investigating sergeant later described what they found in the storm drain network as evidence of long-term occupation. A defined section between 2 access points in the middle of Haller Road had been modified. The drain walls had been lined. The floor had been leveled. There were maps on the wall, laminated. Detailed. Every house on the road. Annotated. The annotations were not dramatic. They were technical, functional. Rear access, no dog, motion light east only. Work stays, home by 6. Side door loose, single occupant. Bedroom faces front. He had studied them the way an engineer studies a structure he intends to enter. The lampposts above the failed bulbs, the ones he had installed with specific, non-standard fittings, contained modified access channels at their bases, wider than standard. Sealed with removal sections that looked, from street level, like standard concrete surrounds. He had built himself a door into the ground. Years before he used it, Gary Morse was arrested at a motel in West Virginia. He said nothing at the time of his arrest. He said very little during processing. He asked once whether they had checked all the posts. When the officers said yes, all of them, Gary Morse smiled. Not all of them, he said. Investigators returned to Holler Road. They checked every lamppost. 11 access points, 11 bases. At number 7, a post outside a house at the quiet end of the road, a house with a single occupant, a woman who worked evenings. They found a fresh modification. The concrete around the base had been disturbed within the past week. The woman at that house was contacted immediately. She was fine. She was frightened, but she was fine. She told investigators she had heard scratching sounds coming from below the floor on 2 separate nights. She had assumed it was mice. Amy still lives on Haller Road. She is 11 now. She does not walk home in the dark. She said something to her mother recently that her mother has repeated to a few people, quietly, and that eventually found its way to the investigators. I looked it up. The lights on our street are the same model as the ones he installed. All of them, even the ones that work. She said her mother told her they were safe now. Amy nodded. She looked at the street from the window. I know. I am just saying, she said. Pink After Dark FM. One story left. Do not go anywhere.
There's something about a mother's touch. Gentle, caring, nurturing. And then there's Mama's PK. 50,000 volts of pure maternal instinct. Mama's PK Taser, small enough to fit in your handbag next to your lip balm and loyalty cards, strong enough to make a grown man do the worm, involuntarily, because Mama didn't raise a victim. Mama's PK, available at leading retailers nationwide. He asked for it, repeatedly apparently.
Mama's PK, for legal self-defense use only. Side effects include uncontrollable muscle spasms, sudden regret, and a newfound respect for women. Mama is not responsible for any impromptu dance moves performed upon contact.
Voice notes. Before I begin tonight's final story, I want to say something clearly. There is audio attached to this case. I have heard it. I will not play it. I considered it. I decided against it. By the end of this, you will know why I made that decision. And you will agree with me. The Millbrook Heights neighborhood app had been running for 3 years. It was the Nextdoor platform, 612 members across a cluster of residential streets in suburban Maryland. The usual content: package thefts, fireworks complaints, someone asking if the new restaurant on the main road was any good, someone else saying yes, someone else saying no. The kind of low-stakes digital life that feels harmless. In October of last year, the neighborhood app received a post from an account belonging to a woman named Claire Weston. Claire Weston had been reported missing 9 days earlier. The post contained a voice note, 12 seconds long. Before the platform's automated safety system flagged and removed it, 214 people had played the audio. A further 43 had screenshotted or screen recorded it and shared it to personal messages and other platforms. The audio was not clean. It had a specific quality: the flatness that comes from a space with soft walls and no natural reverb. The voice was female. It was labored. The words were partially unclear. What listeners agreed they could hear: I am still here. Please, I do not think the sound goes through. Then something that sounded like a seal, an airlock, a heavy panel closing. Then nothing. Law enforcement traced the account activity. Claire Weston's phone was registered as missing. Her account should have been inactive. The post had come from the account itself, authenticated from a device that was not her phone. A secondary login, established 2 weeks before her disappearance, established by someone who had access to her email. The post had not been sent in real time. It had been scheduled, drafted, and timed to publish on a specific date, 9 days after the account went quiet. Someone had written her voice into the future, and then taken her out of the present. Over the following 3 weeks, 4 more voice notes arrived across various neighborhood platforms and community WhatsApp groups in the Millbrook Heights area. Different missing persons, different dates, all within the prior 14 months. Police issued a statement asking residents not to share the audio. The audio was shared regardless. People listened to it obsessively. They posted analysis at 2 and 3 in the morning. They slowed the recordings down, filtered them, isolated frequencies. This was when the layers emerged. Underneath the voice, underneath the distress and the breathing in the words. A second layer, metal against metal, slow, irregular, not rhythmic enough to be machinery. Sound that might have been children playing at a distance, muffled, as if heard through several feet of earth and concrete, and under that, nearly inaudible, a second set of breathing, not the person speaking, someone else. Stationary, close to whatever device was recording, listening. The Millbrook Heights industrial quarter sits 2 miles from the residential streets. Self-storage units, a car wash, a tile supplier, and at the end of a service road, a scrapyard operating under the name Harlan Metal and Salvage. It had been in business for 8 years, licensed, small scale, the kind of operation that stays under the threshold of serious scrutiny because it never does anything dramatic enough to attract it. The owner was a man named Dennis Harlan. He was 57 years old. He had no criminal record. His business had a county contract for metal collection, a service vehicle, a small team of day laborers paid in cash. The warehouse at the rear of the yard had no windows. Below the warehouse floor, poured concrete over compacted earth, was a room. It had not been built in a day, or a month, or probably a year. The excavation was careful, slow, the work of someone with no deadline. Walls lined with acoustic panels sourced in small batches from a music equipment supplier. 2 counties over. Purchases made in cash, in person, spread across 18 months. The floor was sealed, the ceiling reinforced, and on a shelf along the rear wall, a recording setup. Modest. A laptop, a portable audio interface, 2 condenser microphones, and a hard drive. The hard drive contained 31 recordings. Some were recent, some were not. Dennis Harlan was located at his home 2 miles from the yard. He was cooperative. He sat down with investigators. He explained the scheduling system without being asked specifically. He appeared to want to explain it. He spoke about it the way a person speaks about something they have perfected and want understood. He had scheduled the voice notes to post days after each disappearance. He had used cloned account access, secondary logins, scheduled publishing tools. He had studied the platforms carefully. He said his favorite part was watching the neighborhood analyze the audio. He said they were very thorough. He said he had hidden things in the background of several recordings, not real sounds, manufactured layers edited in, children, metal scraping, ambient noise to see what the listeners would construct from them. He said they always constructed something. He said they were very creative. The investigating officer noted in her report that Harlan used the word creative without irony. He meant it as a compliment. Of the 31 recordings on the hard drive, 22 have been matched to missing persons cases across 3 counties. 9 have not been matched. Investigators believe some of those 9 may predate Harlan's time in Maryland. They believe he may have done this before Millbrook Heights. They are working backward through his residential history. The work is ongoing. Dennis Harlan has been charged on multiple counts. His trial date has not been set. The scrapyard has been demolished. The room has been filled. Claire Weston and the others whose voices came through the app have not been found. The next door group for Millbrook Heights still has 612 members. The posting rules have been updated since October. One rule was added that was not there before. No audio posts, voice notes are disabled for the group entirely. Nobody argued with the decision. Nobody asked for an explanation. They all understood. You have been listening to Pink After Dark FM. Check your locks. Check your phone. If something arrives tonight that you are not expecting, do not open it. Whatever it is, do not open it. Pink After Dark FM broadcast ends here. Until next time, here to end the night is the song Static in the Rain.
Generators hum again. Raindrops down the taxi rank signs. Streetlights flicker over wet tar roads, and somebody's watching from the power lines. The city breaks through broken wires. Smoke hangs low in fluorescent glow. Every corner sounds half awake tonight, like they already know what I know. If you hear my voice through the static haze, keep your doors locked tight. There's something moving through the suburbs tonight. Oh, static in the rain, calling out your name again. From the rooftops to the highway signs, something follows close behind. Carry your fear through the dark unknown, past the taverns and the shaded homes. When the night won't let you sleep again, you'll hear me through the static in the rain. Somewhere out in Hillbrow tonight, a payphone rings with nobody there. A woman swears she saw headlights stop and vanish into empty air. Black silhouettes beneath the bridge, CCTV blinking red. Every station's gone completely dead, but this old frequency still spreads. If the blackout kills the city lights and silence fills your room, don't look